Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order this February the 7th, 2011 meeting of the Currituck County Board of Commissioners. I'd like to report that at 6:30 we had a work session reviewing an update of the sign ordinance. I think Mr. Woody and his staff have done an excellent job with that. There'll be some chance for public input before we have any action related to that. And at this time, I'd like to have the Reverend Sandy Martin of Currituck Baptist Church lead us in invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Would you all please stand?
Let us pray. Father God, I come to you tonight in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, the Savior of the world. I come to you thanking you because you love every single person in Currituck County. From the working families, to the single-parent families, to the retired folks, to the young adults trying to make it on their own. From Knott's Island and Moyock to Coinjock to Powell's Point, Father, you love every single one of them. You desire to help them. Father God, I thank you for the people who are sitting here in this room, that because of their love and desire of the people of this county, they have responded to the call of service and sought the seat that they hold to serve the people of this county. I ask your blessings on them and all that they do in their deliberations tonight. I ask that they seek your guidance, your wisdom, and especially a personal relationship with you through your Son, Jesus Christ. And I pray this in his name. Amen. And our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Martin. This time, I'd like to go over the agenda. We have a couple items to add. We're going to add to the consent agenda a resolution in support of the Mid-County Bridge by the Currituck County Commissioners. I believe that's the only other amendment. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Have a motion for that change?
So move.
Second.
Discussion?
One other thing, I'd like to add a resolution to oppose the CAMA proposed rule on sea level rise.
I'd like to see that added as well.
I'll make a motion to that effect.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion to add the resolution for Mid-County Bridge and opposing CAMA sea level rise rule?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It carries. Public comment period. This is an opportunity for anybody in the community to address the Board of Commissioners on any issue of interest to you. We ask that you not address things that will be covered in the agenda later. We'll wait until that time to do that. And we'd ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. When I call your name, please come up and please give us your name and address for the record. And Mr. McCree will be keeping the time. First person I have signed up is Mr. Chip Friedman.
Good evening, Chairman Rohr. I was here to ask the commissioners to consider putting back on the agenda the Swan Beach Corolla LLC application. Just wanted to clarify, this past summer, we asked the county to take it off the agenda that night, but not to withdraw our whole application from the process. And we wanted to request that the county put it back on after they would have a chance to advertise it properly.
Mr. McCree indicated to me that would be the appropriate action should the commissioners decide to do that. So do I have action for that?
I move to go forward.
Second.
Motion and second. What's the pleasure of the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Mr. Scanlon, if you'll
Yes,
have
sir.
that added back to the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Doris Flora. Name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Doris Floor, and I live at 430 Currituck Highway in Moyock. Good evening, lady and gentlemen. On January the 27th, plans to build the jet practice airfield in northeastern North Carolina or Virginia was suspended for at least 3 years. Suspended means it has not over. What they're going to do is they're going to focus on the West Coast with the master jet base for the F-35s. That means that when they come back in 2014, they're going to be looking again at this area here, particularly because of the base at Oceana. They don't want to lose that in Oceana, and they're hopefully they will be working to keep things over there. We need to continue to be diligent, proactive in letting our officials, state and federal, to know that we are still objecting to have an outlying landing field in northeastern North Carolina. Sending letters letting them know that we're still here, not pushing or anything, but don't forget us. We were very happy to hear this, but we know that our war is not over. We've just won a little battle. So we need to continue. I want to thank the commissioners, present and past, for the diligent efforts that they have shown. I am so proud of each and every one of you for the help, the support, and the guidance that you have given to all of us. We hope that we've made you proud of what we tried to do to help you. It was hard work. I didn't do a lot. I was background support, but the people that really did the hard work for this effort, I think, was Juanita Krause and Troy Breathwaite. They really did an excellent job, and I'm proud of those two people, too. I have earned some great friends through this organization, and I am proud to be part of that and to work with them. And I am, again, very proud of you, gentlemen, for your support and your diligence for helping us out. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Flora, and I think we would like to assure you that the commissioners are continuing to meet with council regarding this matter, and will continue to be diligent and vigilant about keeping this matter in forefront. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before you move on, I know that it's hard to recognize people that have done things, and you always forget somebody, but there are two individuals that she mentioned that have gone above and beyond with their own personal time and work and effort, research, that actually our legal team used a lot of their research in order to help us with this while I was chairman, but when Owen was chairman, when Mr. Nelms was chairman. They really put a lot of efforts into it, and I would like to recognize Juanita Krause and Troy Breathwaite with a letter of appreciation from the Board of Commissioners, thanking them for the work they've done so far, but reminding and remembering that we're not finished, because it has not been canceled, it's been delayed. But I would like for this board to send a letter under the manager's signature or the chairman's, or I don't care, but a letter to them individually, those two individuals, thanking them for all that they've done. They've really done a great job.
There appearing to be no
I concur
objection.
with that.
Yeah, I would indicate that would be a good direction for Mr. Scanlon to take. Thank you. Any other? Okay, the next I have listed Eddie Valdivieso. You're going to address item number 4 on the agenda? Yes, sir. Okay, you're going to wait till that time then. Okay. And next I have Peter Bishop. Talk about the Chamber Expo.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Always a pleasure to speak before you. Wanted to remind everybody that we're just a little under a month away from the 10th annual Currituck the Currituck Chamber Expo, which is an exposition of the businesses in the county, setting up booths, tables, and talking about the services and products that they offer. We're also going to be focusing on a job fair this year, hoping to hire some local folks and get folks back in the workforce. I mentioned this is the 10th anniversary of this event. It happens on March the 5th. That is a Saturday at Currituck from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And I would be remiss if I didn't name the many sponsors of this event. We're very proud to have Town Bank and Town Insurance as a sponsor, Brindley Beach Vacations, the Pool Guy, East Carolina Bank, Beach 104, CenturyLink, and my department, Currituck County Economic Development, are all sponsoring this event. We're going to have an American Red Cross blood drive from 10 to 2 on the same day. And again, we're really excited about this event. It's always a great event every year, and just want to make sure that folks, they can go to currituckchamber.org and pick up these forms for the expo to register a booth or a table. It's a relative value compared to some of the other shows and opportunities you have to market your goods and services. I am an ex officio member of the Chamber Board of Directors, so a little caveat there. So I am speaking on behalf of the board and the Chamber, and I'm very much looking forward to this event. A lot of folks have done a lot of hard work so far, and there's a lot more hard work to do. So please come on March the 5th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., and hope to see you there. Thank you very much.
Mr. Bishop, I understand there's usually a creative theme involved with these shows. Would you like to explain what this one is this year?
Yes, there is. Thank you for mentioning that. The history this year, as it's the 10-year anniversary, is history in the making. So the thought is to pick your favorite decade and dress up. There is actually a little party or a business after hours the evening before where they have a little bit of a costume party and a contest. You can win a prize for your best contest. So, John, if you want to show up in your bell bottoms and leisure suit, we'd appreciate that. It would, I think,
I was
add a lot
thinking
of
about
flavor to
something
the
from the
event.
late 18th century, something more appropriate to my...
There we go. For your constitutional interests.
Right.
There we go. But thank you very much, folks.
Thank you. Are there any other persons who'd like to address the board that did not sign up earlier? Okay, seeing no one. Let's move on to item 3 on the agenda. Ms. Joy Futrell is here from East Carolina Behavioral Health to give us the semi-annual report.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm going to keep this fairly brief. I wanted to update y'all on a few things going on in this area specific to East Carolina Behavioral Health. I want to make sure that you do have the fiscal monitoring report for December 31st in your package. We're required to come twice a year and present this in person. I know y'all get real excited about this, so I'll try to keep it, as I said, specific to Currituck County. I will point out on the report, and I'll be glad to answer any questions about it, under county appropriations, you see all the counties listed with county general and ABC. There's been a lot of discussion at our board meetings, and Commissioner Etheridge has probably updated y'all on that, but as to what the funding that'll be requested for next year, our board looked at a lot of different options. They looked at equalization of funding. What they ended up voting on at the December meeting was to request for next fiscal year in county funding what each county had contributed to either Albemarle or, in your case, Albemarle and other counties, ECBH, in prior years and last year, with a minimum contribution of $2 per capita from each county. So for you all, I believe that's what you're contributing this year, so that request for contribution won't change for next fiscal year. Those funds go to support recovery services and crisis intervention training. They've recently tried to do they call it a WRAP group, Wellness Recovery Action Plan, and to introduce recovery services to Currituck County. Back in the last week in January, they tried to start a group at the library over in Moyock. And unfortunately didn't have a lot of participation, so they're reaching back out to DSSs and some of the local churches to try to bring some people in and get it started. Sometimes it takes longer in some of the communities, but once it gets started, it'll usually take right off. The other thing I'll point out, if you remember me reporting in the previous report, that our board set aside $2 million to fill some of the gaps in services. It noted last year, if you remember, we had the behavioral health research program out of Chapel Hill come in those 10 counties. They came up with a report that I think all the counties saw gaps and needs analysis that identified the gaps in services. We've started filling a lot of those gaps this year through a competitive process with our providers. We put them out for requests for proposals. And just a few things that have happened in this county specifically. There's now an ACT team that started up in this county that was actually awarded to Restart. And an ACT team is a team that supports, it's a small team that includes a doctor, and they support individuals with mental health and substance abuse, primarily those that are at high risk for going into hospitals, into state hospitals. So they try and work with them to get them back stabilized and get them into a lower level of care. So it's a fairly quick but intensive service that wasn't actually in any of the 10 counties. Another thing that we've done, we've started some school-based mental health counseling, and we've done that with the high school here, and Uplift is the provider that was awarded that contract. So hopefully as time goes on, we'll see more of those gaps filled. We did set aside the $2 million for this year, so we're working on spending that, and over time we'll prioritize the remaining gaps that are left in the coming years. Are there any questions or anything on the report or anything about East Carolina Behavioral that I can answer for you tonight?
Just have one question. You said you recommended everyone give a minimum of $2 or what they've been given. Is beyond a recommendation. I mean, they will be required to contribute, those counties that did not contribute.
There is a statute that requires every county to contribute. It's the maintenance of effort. So they should have done this. Obviously, I think the big discussion has been Chowan County. They have said they will contribute this next year at the $2 amount. And Pasquotank, as you may know, asked for their funds to be directed to some services in their area, the emergency room, and a couple of other things. What I didn't mention was they've also requested that contribution go towards recovery services and CIT, so you can't just direct it to something else in the county you might already be funding. So we can't send any police out. It's what our board's recommended. Every board member unanimously voted on that. We've sent letters to all the counties, followed up with the county managers, and it appears not to be an issue for next fiscal year right now, so hopefully it won't be.
Based on what you just said, theoretically, every county could direct where they want their money to go if you follow the Pasquotank model?
In the letter that's gone out to counties, they have requested that counties not do that next year. Legally, if you did that, I don't think it's anything we could do in the statute. It's just not strong enough language for us legally to stop you, but they have requested for every county to do that, and so hopefully every county will abide by that.
I know Pasquotank last year was counting their contribution to Hopeline, Albemarle Hopeline, and I wish we could count ours that way because it would have been more than what we've contributed now. But I think there's an understanding that everybody knows they've got to come to the table now. It's a new day.
I agree. And in all honesty, I think last year there was some miscommunication about that, which misinformed Pasquotank County and a couple others.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Futrell.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming. Item number 4 on the agenda, public hearing and action for PB 94-49, the Currituck Club, Phases 8A and 1A, request for a preliminary plat special use permit for 2 new phases of Currituck Club PUD. Proposed Phase 8A consists of 29 residential lots. Phase 1A consists of 1 residential lot. Located at the Currituck Club in Corolla, tax map 126G, parcel D, and tax map 117, parcel 1H, Poplar Branch Township. Since this is an application for a special use permit, I believe everybody has to come forward who's intending to participate in this discussion and be sworn in. So come forward now or hold your peace. Put your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you. Mr. Woody, would you begin?
Thank you, I guess, Mr. Chairman, for tonight, at least. This is a preliminary plat special use permit for the Currituck Club Plan Unit Development. This is a subdivision located on the Outer Banks in the Corolla area, currently zoned R01 in the PUD overlay, and that's our zoning designation for our PUDs. You've got 2 phases. One is a 29 lot Phase 8A, which is on the lower parcel on this map here, not the golf course, but the parcel south of that. Then, of course, there's 1 lot that's being created, lot 430. It's down by itself at the end of Herringold Court. The property is full service in our 2006 land use plan in the Corolla sub area, so the land use plan does support, obviously, this type of subdivision, as that's what's predominant out there already. The cumulative size of the site is 10.32 acres, and again, you've got a total of 30 lots at play here, 29 in Phase 8A and 1 in Phase 1A. The property, Currituck Club, is served by Carolina Water for the water service and Pine Island Currituck LLC for the wastewater service. And one thing we started adding to our staff report is for the entire Currituck Club PUD, and as you know, these PUDs often take many years to build out. You've got a total land area of 587 acres, 254 acres of open space, which comprises 43% of the development. And of course, you've got a commercial allocation of 27 acres, which is about half or 5% of their total commercial allocation. So that's kind of the build-out scenario of the Currituck Club. And what you can see here, this subdivision plan is going to be in 2 parts. This is the north part of the subdivision, Phase 8A, where the 29 lots are. You can see the cul-de-sacs. Highway 12 is on the right side of the plan there, or east. Then, of course, this is the south side of it. You can see Windswept Ridge is the proposed name of the road, and it accesses off Hunt Club Drive, which is kind of one of the main roads that snakes through Currituck Club. Just to the north of this proposed subdivision is the Windswept Villas, which is a villa community or buildings of attached homes that is already built. And of course, this is not a very good map, but that's lot 430, which is, again, the individual lot kind of south of where the 29 lot subdivision is. The special use permit criteria and the findings, suggested findings, are in your staff reports. And I'm not going to read all of those, but they're in there, and those are the 7 findings you have to make to approve a preliminary plat special use permit. There are 2 things that I want to go over real quickly that came up at the TRC, Technical Review Committee meeting. Number 1 is access. The original access plan, there's a lot of history behind this, so I'm going to try to summarize it and be succinct. The original access plan showed the access for windswept villas directly adjacent to the new access for this 29 lot subdivision. Obviously, from a planning perspective and from the UDO, having 2 curb cuts side by side is not good practice. So we've worked with the developer to try to avoid that. And what we've got, and I'll get to the end of it and spare you all the details how we got there, but basically what they've proposed to do is the access that will come in for the 29 lot subdivision will be shared by windswept villas. So that means these 2 developments will funnel out of one access on a Hunt Club Drive, which is a much safer scenario from a traffic transportation point of view. Now, the exact location of the access is still a little bit into play. They've got some issues in windswept villas with the original developer, and the homeowners associations are having some legal issues now they're working through. So if those aren't worked through, the windswept villas will connect to the main subdivision road as you see here on this map. If those issues are worked through before we record a final plat, then the road that windswept villas uses today will become the road for the subdivision. So hopefully that makes sense, but the point is we've gotten away from the 2 access points side by side and have made an agreement where these 2 developments will share one access, which I think everybody agrees is a better and safer option. The other thing that you need to deliberate tonight, and you'll need to make as part of your motion a decision on this, is in the UDO, variances to PUD requirements go to the Board of Commissioners. Normally a variance from a zoning requirement goes to the Board of Adjustment, as you know, but you sit is the board that can vary requirements for PUDs. So we've got a request tonight for a variance or a waiver or relief, I would say, from the sidewalk requirements. The current UDO requires sidewalks on both sides of the street. And what the developer is proposing is to eliminate sidewalks on 2 portions of this subdivision where the 29 lots are in Phase 8A. And on that plan, the northern part you see there, the red lines where they've proposed sidewalks. And the green lines is where the ordinance requires sidewalks. So as you can see on the east side of Dune Ridge Court, adjacent to NC 12, they've requested that sidewalk section be removed. I'm going to let the applicant explain that in a little more detail, but the basic premise is on that side of the subdivision, you've got topography concerns, you've got proximity to 12, and of course you don't have any lots up there. And because of a piece of land that exists between this subdivision and NC 12, you really don't even have the ability to connect this subdivision sidewalk with a future path on 12. On the south side, they've asked for a second area to have a waiver. On the north side of Windswept Ridge Lane, again where the red line's missing, they've got a pretty steep dune or change in elevation there. So they've asked, because of the topography in that area, that they not provide a sidewalk. Again, the green shows where the sidewalks are required, and of course the red is where they're proposing the sidewalks. So again, they've asked for a waiver on that north side of Windswept Ridge due to topography. So folks up in the, and of course you don't have lots there for this subdivision, so folks would have to kind of cross the street and get to the sidewalk system on the south side of Windswept Ridge to get to the amenities. But anyways, in your motion tonight, you'll need to address whether you feel like it's appropriate to grant the relief for the sidewalk requirements, or if you want to require them to put in the sidewalks. Other than that, planning staff does recommend conditional approval of this request, this subdivision. Of course, our one concern is to get direction from the board on the sidewalk variance, number one. Number two, that the Windswept Villas and this subdivision, 29 lot Phase 8A, share an access, which they've agreed to. And our final comment, staff, is that once the Board of Commissioners has approved this preliminary plat, they resubmit construction drawings before they begin building the subdivision. The planning board heard this at their January meeting, and the planning board did recommend unanimous approval. They too added a couple of conditions. One is they recommended the variance application be filed to allow for the deviation of the sidewalk requirements due to topographical concerns, and the public safety issue is not created through the lack of sidewalks. And also the planning board recommended that a safe route be provided for the golf cart path. I guess one thing we kind of forgot about is right now this is undeveloped land, so the golf carts kind of meander through this open piece of land from one hole to another. Earlier today, Eddie V with Quabble sent us kind of a layout of how they were going to run the cart through this. It's not the best drawing, but you can see the little red arrow pointing to the cart path. And what we were trying to avoid is having the golf carts maybe driving on the street, have a dedicated path for the golf cart. So they've kind of proposed something here tonight, and that was one of the planning board's recommendations to address that. With that, that's staff's presentation. I'll answer any questions you have.
In relation to the entrance off 12, where's the clubhouse and the Harris Teeter and things like this?
The Harris Teeter is north of this property. Let's see if we can get one. South of it. This property is directly north of the Harris Teeter. So when you see the Harris, if you're driving up 12 and you see the Harris Teeter on your left, the next vacant piece of land would be where the 29 lots would be. So it's very, very close proximity to that.
Is there any connectivity from either of these streets, the cart path into that shopping center?
Not that I know of, no.
Just wondering, again, I don't know about the POA, the covenants they have in place up there, but I know we've encouraged connectivity here for adjacent subdivisions, which doesn't exist there, but we also, with the exception of Route 12, allowed golf cart use on any of the roads in Currituck County, which ostensibly would include the Currituck Club. Do you know if there's any use out there? Mr. Cherry might be able to address that later as far as people driving around the Currituck Club on the roads on the golf carts or going to the shopping center.
No, it's a private gated community. So the cart paths that we have for the golf course are not cart paths that are used for anything other than the golf course.
Right, and the roads are private roads in the Currituck Club. Yep. And Mr. Valdivieso, you're addressing for the applicant?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. My name's Eddie Valdivieso with Quibble, and I'm here on behalf of the Currituck Associates Residential Partnership. Michael Cherry, the general partner with that group, is also available for any questions. I'm here to respond to any questions you may have. Ben pretty well summarized the project. I may just step back by way of background information, and I'll be quick with a long subject on the access, if that's not clear. But the Windswept Ridge condominium was platted for this entire project. There were multiple phases for those condos. Make a long story short there, that didn't pan out. So they've only got one phase of development that was built and platted and subsequently subdivided out of this parcel. And for numerous reasons, the residual of that parcel reverted back to the Currituck Associates Residential Partnership. So here we are today to subdivide the rest of that parcel. It was previously subdivided, or had preliminary plat approval, I should say, for 16 lots. Really, our change here today is to go from 16 to 29. We're adding 13 more lots in there. The access issue is really revolving around a legal issue between the condo owners and the original developer, and primarily on the transfer of the open space to the condo association. That looks like it's going to be favorably resolved. But in the interim, we're trying to move forward, so we've submitted plans showing an alternate entrance just in case that does not pan out. But we're being advised that a judgment has been granted in favor of the Windswept Ridge Condo Association owners, to where effectively they will take control of the open space around their buildings. The existing entrance to their condos will then be made available to this project as an access. And another important point to stress is it is an access easement. The Currituck Associates Residential Partnerships, when they settled to get the property back, made sure they had rights to cross that easement, but your UDO prevents a subdivision from being accessed through an easement. It's got to be a deeded right-of-way. I know Mr. McCree is very familiar with that. It's a subtle play, but the bottom line is it looks like that property is coming back to the properly so, coming to the Property Owners Association. We have been in contact with them since the beginning of the project. They came and spoke in favor of the project at the planning board, I might add, and they will turn over that easement area to the project to be part of a proper right-of-way, deeded right-of-way to access to subdivision. Are there any questions on the access that we're proposing here? We're going to end up with one street that accesses the condos in this subdivision, which I think is what everybody wants to end up with.
Okay, I'm familiar with this particular project, too, from the standpoint of the sidewalks, and I think I'd have to agree with giving them a variance to omit those adjacent to Route 12. There have been some problems in the past with persons trespassing across that piece of property owned by someone we all know and love, and I wouldn't want to encourage that to happen in the future. So I think that's a valid variance request, if you have any questions about it.
Will these homes back up against 12? Will they be between 12 and the golf course?
The northern section will. What you're looking at right now, lots 455 through 459, they will be between hole number 11 and NC12. Yes, sir. And the variance request for the sidewalks on both sides of the road is twofold, really. One, from a practical perspective, normally I'm trained to lay out a subdivision as efficient as possible, and that usually means lots on both sides of the road. Unfortunately, we can't do that here. We simply don't have space for it. So, the idea of having a sidewalk over there with no homes, it's a long stretch and it costs money. But the bigger issue, which Mr. Cherry pointed out at the planning board, is we also don't want to promote folks from thinking that sidewalk is a way to cross NC-12 and making their way to the beach. That's something we don't want to have in there.
Understand. Thank you.
Any further questions from the commissioners? Do I have a motion?
After you close the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm new to this process. With that being said, then I'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, make
Yes,
a motion that we approve with the planning board's recommendations, staff recommendations, findings of fact, and approve the variance as part of the approval.
Second.
Have a second. Motion and a second. What's the pleasure of the board? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion seems to carry unanimously.
Thank you, Mr.
Congratulations. Okay, moving on to item number 5, appointments to the Currituck County FEMS Peer Review Board. And I believe there were a list of suggested appointments provided to us. And this was provided by Chief Glover. I don't think we need to go through the entire list. Everybody's had a chance to review it, I'm sure.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion for approval. What's the pleasure of the board? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Appointments to the Economic Development Board. We have some appointments still outstanding on that. I believe one for District 2, which is myself, District 3, which is Commissioner Petrie.
I thought District 3 was already set with...
Yes, sir. It is actually Commissioner Martin and yourself have appointments.
I'm sorry. Okay. That's happening.
District 4 is up.
Yeah, District 3 set.
Not on the economic development.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, 2 and 3.
Board of Adjustments, I was thinking of Board of
Yeah,
Adjustments.
2,
I'm
3,
sorry.
and 1 at large, it appears.
Yes, I have the at-large.
It's District 2, which is Commissioner Rohr, and at-large Commissioner Martin are the only two that are up.
Okay, and District 3 is not then. All right, I see. I just saw the vacancy in there.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I would like to nominate Mrs. Frances Walker, who is a lifelong resident of the county. She is a businesswoman, has been in business, operated a business here for almost a half century, and I think she would be a welcome addition to that board.
And I am going to, at this time, reappoint David Palmer to the Economic Development Advisory Board because of the work that's ongoing with that board, and I'd like to see that completed as soon as possible, and I think this would facilitate that. And we need the approval of the commissioners for this, so all in favor of accepting those nominations, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nominations carry. Appointments to the Senior Citizen Advisory Board.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to defer my appointment until the next meeting.
And I'm looking to see how many appointments we have on there. Is that
You have two.
two?
Commissioner Gilbert and Commissioner O'Neill have
Okay.
appointments.
I'm not picking up the bold on here. That's why I'm having trouble following it. So, Commissioner Gilbert, do you have an
I'm
appointee
going to have
for
to
that?
defer till our next meeting.
Okay. We'll defer it till the next meeting. Appointments to the Board of Adjustment.
Oh, you skipped item number 8.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Read the script.
Item number 8, appointments to the Commissioner to the LEPC Committee. So I'm trouble following it on the...
So you're appointing a commissioner to the LEP.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Gregory was serving on that board, and now we need a commissioner to replace
Local
him.
Emergency
Planning
Planning
Commission.
Committee.
Yes, sir.
I think Commissioner Idlet, with his background in fire and rescue, would be a very appropriate appointment unless someone here feels so strongly about it.
I'll second your.
I think he has spoken for it.
I think that's an excellent nomination.
And plus, he's not here tonight
Right.
to say no.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Commissioner Idle. Now, appointments to the Board of Adjustment.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to have to defer mine.
As will I, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Scanlon, I'm trying to determine which ones.
On
are-
Board of Adjustments, it's actually Commissioner Petrie, Commissioner Etheridge, and Commissioner Gilbert have appointments.
I'm going to defer. I'm talking to a couple of people.
Same here, Chairman. I'll have to defer till next meeting.
Everybody defers?
Yes.
We'll defer to next time. Consent
What I
agenda.
read.
I'm sorry, Paul?
When I looked at it, I thought I had the appointment to the Board of Adjustments.
What I'm looking at, your appointment is term expires at the end of this calendar year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yours
All
and
right.
mine.
I
Yeah,
misspoke.
12/31,
Okay.
2010.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, consent agenda. We have a motion for approval
So moved.
with the addition that we had.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Commissioners report. Let's start with the ladies this evening. Ms. Gilbert.
I would like to just remind everybody that on February 13th, the Moyock Fire Department will have their monthly pancake breakfast. I'd invite everybody to attend that. There is a $5 recommended donation. They do a wonderful breakfast. Enjoy the camaraderie with the fire department. Once the breakfast is done at around 10:30, they are going to do a demonstration between 10:30 and 11 that'll last about an hour on the sprinkler systems in households and businesses. I think this would be a very interesting demonstration, so I invite everybody to join and come in for breakfast on Sunday morning, the 13th. Take your Valentine for breakfast at the Moyock Fire Department a day early and visit and stay for the demonstration on the sprinkler system.
Very good. Ms. Petrick.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to extend an invitation to anyone out there that can, in the sound of our voice, on March 19th. The Corolla Wild Horse Fund is going to be having a night at the races. Last year was their first year, and it was so big that they had to turn people away. This year, our goal is to get 200 people. The tickets are $35 a piece. All the money goes towards the Corolla Wild Horse Fund. And you can check their website. I think it's CorollaWildHorseFund.com or .org maybe. But check it out. It's a lot of fun. The food's good. The fellowship is good, and it's a lot of good people there for a good cause because as everybody knows, the wild horses in Corolla is an important asset to us. It's our state horse, and I'm glad that we have it. So that's March 19th. It starts at 6 o'clock. So check out the website. It's going to be at the Hilton Garden Inn. That's the chosen place because of the size. So March 19th, Corolla Wild Horse Fun, night at the races. Thank you.
And that's where they actually have the horse races that you bet on with the.
Yeah, well,
play
now,
money.
it's play money. It's
Play money. Right. It is a lot of fun because you get to bet on the races, and the money that you win, you get to go and bid on some prizes. Everybody has a great time. I've been to a couple of them. I think you'll enjoy it. Mr. Martin.
Yes, we have posted throughout the county neighborhood watch signs, and there have been a rash of breaking and enterings in many areas of the county. To be a good citizen, I just like to ask the people to, if you see someone driving around, if you see people walking around, be a good neighbor and speak to them and, ask them if they're lost or whatever. As well as, we have a good sheriff's department. We have our deputies are out there working, but we've got a big county, and we need to take care of each other like this.
That's a good reminder. In fact, I saw in the paper that Dare County, one day they had 17 break-ins, which is amazing. I think our sheriff's doing an outstanding job keeping it under control up here. Mr. Etheridge.
I'd like to request that at our next meeting, Mr. Woody, that we have information on the proposed camera rule change on AECs, so that we can take action on that, because I think it's March 17th, or is it April 17th, the comment period?
It's April, and we're working on that, and diagrams and information forthcoming.
Because I know Commissioner Martin and Commissioner Martin and myself and Chairman Idlett last week saw in Carteret County with the sea level change and all, it's going to devastate them, and I can only imagine what our maps would look like when that comes out.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Neill.
I have a couple informational things, as I'm on the Tourism Advisory Board and the Economic Development Advisory Board. We're going to be holding a joint meeting together with the airport board as well on March the 10th at 6 p.m. at the Senior Center. Is that correct, Mr. Bishop?
Yes, at the Judicial Building.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about how the three boards are intertwined. Over the last couple of years, Commissioner Rohr served on that board, and they've done a lot of work on visioning for the county, and I think with his appointment tonight, as he stated, we need to finish some of the things that they're working on, but we're looking at taking it to the next step with marketing the county and moving in that direction as well. And so that's a meeting the commissioners are going to be invited to, and by that time, Mr. Bishop will have a working document of some of the things that collectively we've all brought up, that I've put together into a document. Mr. Bishop is going to make it into a document and give you progress as we move along with those issues that you and others have raised. So we're going to move in that direction. And the other thing is, I read in the paper, and I've received some phone calls where at the Airport Advisory Board meeting, it was recommended that Bells Island be included in the flight path, and I'm not sure that everybody understands what that means. That currently, I don't think the FAA includes Bells Island in the flight path, do they?
They do not.
If we expand that flight path, I think that the people at Bells Island, if they're included in that flight path, need to understand the adverse effect that's going to have on their property values. Because then you're going to, when you try to sell a piece of property at Bells Island, it's going to say you're under a flight path that doesn't currently exist. The FAA is the federal agency that decides where a flight path is. I don't think we need to expand it beyond what the FAA has laid out as the flight path, because I'm not going to vote to adversely impact people's property values with expansion of that flight path. So I just wanted to bring that up, that the board needs to really think about that before it goes forward with an expansion.
Mr. Chairman, if I would,
Yep.
we addressed that last Friday with the manager and with Mr. Woody's help. The people's fears on Bell's Island have been abated, and but thank you very much for bringing it up, sir, because they were ready to rally the troops. Right, Mr. Woody?
Mr. Chairman, if I can, the planning staff is working on a small area plan and an airport overlay, and that plan was presented, I guess, last week to the Airport Advisory Board. In that plan, it does not include Bell's Island within the flight path. It was a recommendation from a member of the Airport Advisory Board that perhaps it should be expanded to include Bell's Island. But the plan that's coming before you, unless it is amended, does not have that recommendation. It is not staff's recommendation to you to include it, but there was at least one member or perhaps two people on the Airport Advisory Board that thought it should be expanded to include Bell's Island. But I know I've heard
the Airport Advisory Board did not vote to recommend that?
I don't know if they actually ended up voting on the document itself, but there was two members that voiced a opinion that Bell's Island be included, and I believe the press was at that meeting and picked it up, and hence the article that ended up being in the paper.
Let me expand on that a little bit since I'm the ex officio on the Airport Advisory Board. Mr. Wooding had come to the Airport Advisory Board to explain the overlay, and we had a couple members of our board thought that including that area would control the growth at Bell's Island. And that was part of the conversation in the presentation, not from Ben, but that the members understood and thought that, including that would, like I said, control that a little bit. But our board did not recommend adding. It was to look at the possibilities, which Ben had said that he would, engage and look at that, but it was not something that we were going to do.
Okay, well, I just read the newspaper article, and I'm going on record that I am not going to support the expansion of that overlay after some of the phone calls I received.
I, too,
And
have
you probably
received many
received
phone
some of
calls
them as well.
and agree with that.
Okay.
And I think that Commissioner Martin has
Absolutely.
Good
Yes.
job, sir.
Yes.
And ma'am.
clarified that with the Bell's Island.
Yes, our Property Owners Association is well informed, and they were very quick to call their commissioner.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill. Only thing I have to report, I attended the Albemarle Commission meeting for January as the new representative from Currituck County there. The action that was taken that affects us to some degree is the fact that the Albemarle Commission will no longer participate in what they call scattered site projects, meaning they'll no longer do any more infrastructure or structural improvements in areas that are not contiguous with other developments. Infrastructure type things related to drainage, things like that are okay, but they're just not going to fix any more houses. It seems that it has not worked out anywhere. We don't have the ability to oversee those projects, and it didn't make the people happy that were the beneficiaries, and it has caused problems for the counties. And another note, the Workforce Development Consortium, which is trying to be reconstituted by the Albemarle Commission, would like to have a community-based organization from one of the counties in northeastern North Carolina. This would be an organization that's interested in job training, workforce development, any kind of work that might help people learn skills that would prepare them for the job market. So if there are any kind of organizations out there that have that sort of interest that might like to participate in that, please contact me, because we are still looking for one, and I'm not aware of one that exists up in this area at this point. Comments, Mr. Scanlon?
Can I ask one
sure.
question for
Sure.
him? In your comment, the board voted to create a wastewater system in Moyock for economic development and so forth. There's been competing plans out there, but people in Moyock are kind of asking where we are. Could you kind of sending the letters out for commitments and what the next phase is so that they know that we're still moving forward?
Yes, sir. The last official vote by the Board of Commissioners was a unanimous vote to move forward with the property that was recently purchased. It has the potential of housing a up to a 600,000 plus gallon a day plant. We have acquired the property. The county engineer and the finance director and myself are working to finalize a rate structure that will determine an impact fee and appropriate monthly use fee. Once we're complete with that, which we hope to have done this week, we will be sending letters out to all of the businesses that have identified themselves specifically to us as needing service, as well as we'll send letters to all of the identified business properties along the Force Main, explaining where we are and offering them the opportunity to connect at this point in time. Our interest is to determine the size of the first phase. We'll build the system out as demand is there. So the purpose of the letters is to determine the initial demand, and those letters should be hopefully going out in the next 2 to 3 weeks. We'll have those out. The engineering firm is continuing to work on the permitting process. They should be submitted, I believe we were told, at the end of April or May. The permits will be submitted for the state for approval so that we can go forward and move forward with construction of the first phase.
Thank you. Sorry.
Any other comments?
Yes, sir. Well, first, I'd like to acknowledge, for anybody that's watching tonight, and hope and wish Commissioner Idlett a healthy recovery. He is home ill and could not join us today. Also, the commissioners have mentioned several times different nonprofit and good events that are going out through the county. Wanted to announce that we have now added a new element to our county website. It is called an events calendar. So if you are an organization that has an event that you are scheduling, you can go to the county website, and on the left-hand side it's called the events calendar. They can click on that, and they can populate their information that will automatically go into the calendar, and they can be included. Or if you're a citizen or a guest and looking for something to do, you can go to the calendar, and you can see the various different things that are being offered throughout the county for that particular month. And if you have not gone to our website in some time, I certainly would encourage people to go. We have been diligently working for some time now on a video presence, and we've got a YouTube connection there where people can go, and we're systematically moving through several of our departments where they're explaining the various different things and programs that they provide, and the folks can go learn more about county government by visiting the YouTube piece. Also, a last piece that we're rolling out is actually in partnership with the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. There will be a weekly this week in your government where the Association of County Commissioners will be following what's going on in the General Assembly, and they will be offering and providing a weekly, it's about a 10 or 15 minute show video that we'll be publicizing and presenting. So if folks want to know what's going on in Raleigh or what the bills are moving or what the latest topic is, we're going to get those on Friday, so probably over the weekend or Monday before we get those up. But it'll be a good way for folks to look at firsthand what's happened that week in the General Assembly. And that's it.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you reminding us to wish Mr. Eilert well. We miss his presence here tonight. I hope he will be doing well soon. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion that the board enter closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute Section
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, one oversight. We were given a reminder. There's an airport overlay open house on February 17th, which is next Thursday, at the North Carolina Extension Building from 5:30 to 7. I encourage anyone that wants more information about the overlay to please show up. Mr. Wooding and the planning staff has an excellent presentation that they will be providing, and they will have some stations set up, so I encourage anyone that wants to attend that overlay meeting the 17th from 5:30 until 7 at the Extension Center.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Okay. Back to the motion that I'd like to entertain at this point. Enter closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute, Section 143-318.11A4, to discuss matters related to the location and expansion of an industry or business within Currituck County. Do I have such a motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.